topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Draw me close to you, never let me go, and lay it all down again, to hear you say that I'm a friend.
Good day. The Almighty Creator desires a deep personal relationship with you. My name is James Robertson. I'm a researcher, publisher, and teacher regarding the matters and truths of the Almighty Creator, whose true name is Yah, the eternally self-existing. I've been actively serving him since 1993, over 31 years. If you're not actively serving Yah, then by default you're serving Satan. My objective is to show you how you can make a big difference on earth and qualify for a position of high esteem in heaven for eternity. It's important to understand that as a believer, just being good is not the point. It's relationship with Yah that counts. Without this, you will be in a very unpleasant place in heaven with no way out. My aim is to show you how to get close to Father. If you're a good person without a clear relationship with Yah, then you're in a spiritual no man's land and will not enter heaven when you die. The Creator has said regarding unbelievers, why would I want someone to spend eternity with me when they do not believe I exist? Yah is calling everybody on the planet to be involved and serve him and help him to have victory over Satan. My goal is to show you how to do this. Fundamentally, we each need to learn to see things on earth from Yah's perspective. Please visit my website at www.endtimeissueministries.org or email me on james@endtimesissueministries.org for more information. Today we're going to talk about divine provision is available to every true believer, but we must work for it. We need wisdom to get wealth. So an overview. There's a lot of wrong teaching around the so-called prosperity gospel. What's the truth? Fact is that it is the will of the Almighty for true believers to prosper. We'll look at what's required there. We'll also look at how the mark of the beast affects finances and how symphonio, harmony in marriage, harmony in ministry, affects finances. This is based on the article 2024-0901. Divine provision is available to every true believer. Must work for it. Wisdom to get wealth. So in 3 John, in the Bible, in the Protestant Bible, 3 John 1:2, Beloved, I pray that in every way you may succeed and prosper and be in good health physically, just as I know your soul prospers spiritually, from the Amplified Bible. Consider also Proverbs 8:18, referring to wisdom from Yah, which states, riches and honor are with me, enduring wealth and righteousness, right standing with Yah. Also from the Amplified with the name corrected. So folks, if you're a true believer, and my message is to true believers, I must stress that. If you're a wishy-washy Sunday, Friday, Saturday, whatever day, Christian, Muslim, Jew, Hindu, whatever, I'm not really talking about you, I'm sorry, but you need to make a commitment to Father. You need to get close to Father. And then what I'm saying to you is relevant. And there's a lot of wrong thinking, as I just said, around this whole question of prosperity. It's clear that Father wants those who are really close to him. Oh, excuse me. Father wants those who are really close to him to prosper. However, virtually none of them are prospering. Why is that? We'll dig into that a bit later. In considering this, it's vital to understand that there are two spiritual realms in question here, or maybe three. On the one hand, you have those who are really seeking to serve Father, who are seeking to climb the mountain of Yah, who are seeking to get close to Father. On the other side, you've got those who are extravagantly serving Satan. They're committing abortions, which is murder. They are practicing witchcraft and other Satanist rites. And they're actively trying to get closer to Satan. And in the middle is a huge number of, I'm sorry to use this language, folks, but I don't know how else to say it. There's a huge range of mediocrity. People who don't know there's a creator, who don't care whether there's a creator, who just going about this stuff. And if you're in that area and you've just stumbled on this broadcast, then by all means listen to the broadcast, but I encourage you to go to the website, www.etim, let's do that again, www.endtimeissueministries.org, one word. And there's a huge amount there. Start at the top of section 1 and just work through the articles one at a time. So I'm going to talk to believers now. And when I say believers, I'm talking about people who are really committed to serving Yah, the eternally self-existing, the creator of the heavens and earth, the Almighty. I'm not talking about people who are serving Jesus. Matthew 27, whatever it is, Matthew 27, 37, something like that. Yeshua, Jesus says, the great commandment is love Yah, the eternally self-existing, with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul, with all your strength. Doesn't leave room for loving Jesus, folks. And he's quoting Deuteronomy 6:5, which is very clear that that verse is relating to Yah, the eternally self-existing, your mighty one. So, I'm sorry, if you're loving Jesus and you believe in Jesus and you don't have a relationship with the Creator, you're in that middle ground, my friend. Or if you're really making an effort to serve Jesus and you're filled with Jesus' Spirit, which is actually the Spirit of Yah, and you're confused, but you don't understand that you're confused, you might just going to make it into heaven, but you're going to scrape in. I'm talking to people who are truly committed to serving the Almighty Creator. So Philippians 4:19 states, and my mighty one, incorrectly God, will liberally supply, fill up until full your every need, according to his riches and glory by the anointing that was upon Yeshua, commonly called Christ Jesus. This is again from the Amplified with the names corrected. This last passage is instructive not in Jesus, but in the anointing that was upon Yeshua. So this speaks to anointed believers who are filled with the Spirit of Yah and who are given supernatural wisdom and who labor actively, led by that Spirit, to produce the finances they need to meet their needs. This is not about Jesus doing something as is widely taught. It is about a true believer who's free of sin and truly serving Yah and filled with Yah's Spirit and Yah's wisdom, prospering. Note that there are plenty of case studies in the so-called Old Testament that evidence Yah's hand in prospering people and the nation of Israel. Consider Mattiyahu, Matthew 13:22, as a counterpoint to this. And the one on whom seed was sown among thorns, this is the one who hears the word, but the worries and distractions of the world and the deceitfulness, the superficial pleasures and delight of riches choke the word, and it yields no fruit. Also the Amplified. There's a huge issue with most prosperity teaching It looks to Jesus to provide wealth magically and does not teach industrious, spirit-led hard work, and does not warn of the deceitfulness of riches that come and become an end in themselves. It's vital to recognize that prosperity is not founding a church and then seducing people to give you money. That's not the prosperity we're talking about here. Consider also Matthew 6:33, Yahushua speaking. But first and most importantly, seek, aim at, strive after his, in other words, Yah's kingdom and his righteousness, his way of doing and being right, the attitude and character of Yah. And all these things will be given to you also. Again, amplified with the names corrected. For a detailed discussion of this, see the article on the website, Emunah (Faith for Finances), on measures you can take to exercise your Emunah faith for financial prosperity once you've gotten your life right with Yah. So there's a piece to recognize here, folks. The forces of darkness, the satanic and demonic realm, are focused on destroying true believers and people who are seeking to become true believers. They are unconcerned about people who are in sin, people who are worshipping Jesus, and such forth. So you need to be careful what you take on. See also the article, The Biggest Error Crippling Most Pure Anointed Believers, for a discussion of what can go wrong and how to avoid it. And this speaks, just in summary, to a situation where people sort of opt out and think that God is in control and God has their lives planned out and God's going to take care of them. Well, first of all, the Almighty hates being called God. His name is Yah, the eternally self-existing, or if you prefer, the Almighty. So what happens is, if you're praying to God and Jesus these days, and the dispensation changed in 2003, if you're praying to God and Jesus now, Yah's not answering you. Somebody else is answering you, and you've only got one guess as to who that is. For a discussion on drawing close to the Creator, see the 7 components in drawing close to Yah. Really important. If you're serious, you need to make an effort to get close to Father. Remember also Genesis 3:19, by the sweat of your brow you will eat your food until you return to the ground, since from it you were taken. For dust you are, and to dust you will return. By the sweat of your brow. Yah is not going to magically prosper you. You are going to have to do something constructive in order to prosper. In conclusion, it's time for you to get close to Yah and then walk in divine prosperity. It's truly possible to get to a place of financial blessings and walk in divine prosperity. This is available to you, provided you first get your life right with Yah. And I offer the above to get you started. There's much on the website to help you get your life right with Yah. So I'm now going to talk about another article, 2023-0301, the mark of the beast is breaking any of the 10 commandments, not the microchip. Revelation 13, verses 16 to 17. Also, he compels all, he is Satan, compels all, the small and the great, and the rich and the poor, and the free men and the slaves, to be given a mark on or in their right hand, or on or in their forehead, signifying allegiance to the beast, and that no one will be able to buy or sell except that the one who has the mark, either the name of the beast or the number of his name. Because it's postulated that the microchip will be necessary in order to buy or sell in the so-called New World Order, it is inferred that the microchip is this mark. There are a number of challenges with this interpretation. Number one, the mark of the beast must apply universally. In other words, it must be simultaneously available to every human being wherever they are situated around the planet. Given the logistical challenges of deploying the microchip in such a manner, this is unlikely and at the very least will take years to deploy. The microchip is a human device, whereas the above verses are speaking of a spiritual mark. And thirdly, inherently, the issue relates primarily to believers who will be blocked from trading. The rest are servants of Satan. There's no reason for them to be troubled by whether they have the microchip or not. Folks, in some countries, like the one I live in, the UK, it's almost getting to the point where if you do not have a credit card or a debit card with a microchip, buying stuff is quite difficult. You can still get cash, but the economy is geared to electronic payment. I hardly ever have cash, and if I do have cash, it can sit in my wallet for months without getting spent. We'll probably get to a point within, I don't know, maybe 5 years, where they'll discontinue cash altogether. And say, okay, well, then the debit card is actually a surrogate for the microchip. No. The microchip has been talked about, in my knowledge, for 30 years. It's not caught on because people have a mental block about having something injected into their wrist or into their forehead. And it's not necessarily because the cards that I've just spoken of do most of the job. And furthermore, we've got to a point where the use of fingerprints, face recognition, etc., is so advanced that you don't need the chip. So if you're going around talking about the microchip as the mark of the beast, please stop it. It's really not sensible. It's not true. It's not the mark of the beast. So let's go on and see what it might be. Back in about 1998, having been actively serving fathers since March 1993, I received several communications regarding the microchip and the mark of the beast. These did not make a lot of sense to me, so I got on my knees and asked Father. The answer was clear. The mark of the beast is not the microchip. It's a spiritual mark given to all who break any of the 10 commandments. In the forehead relates to your thoughts, and in the right hand relates to what we write and covenant and contract and shake hands on. This made perfect sense, and I've lived with that understanding ever since, and I've not found any basis to discredit that interpretation. Think about it, folks. The 10 Commandments were given by Yah at Horeb, Mount Sinai. Something like 3,500 years ago. At that stage, there was communication all over the earth. Those commandments go back, in fact, all the way to Noah. They go all the way back to Adam. What Yah was doing at that time was simply a restatement. And the thing to recognize about the 10 Commandments, they were written by Yah himself in stone, on 2 stone tablets. That is a reasonable basis for judgment, folks. And if you understand what I've come to understand over the years and what I've shared on several occasions recently, the 10 Commandments are the fundamental defining entities that define sin. So if you're breaking one of the 10 Commandments, you are committing sin. If you are in pride, then you're making an idol of yourself and you're breaking the 2nd commandment. If you're in lust, you're breaking the 10th commandment. If you're in fear, you're worshiping Satan and you're breaking the 2nd commandment or the 1st commandment, depending on how you want to look at it. See also the article on the website, The Mark of the Beast, under Commandments, the mark of the beast. And all of the 10 commandments, as well as the another article, all of the 10 commandments, as well as the principal commandment, have been almost universally broken and made of no effect. On the web page, commandments of no effect. So to understand the mark of the beast, in order to clarify, the following lists some of the prevalent sources of the mark reference to each of the 10 commandments. So virtually the entire planet has the mark of the beast, so virtually the entire planet can buy and sell. So I'm sorry to be a bit harsh on this, but if you are a sort of a believer and you are not scrupulously cleaning up your life, you're serving Satan at some level, and Satan's going to bless you because you don't have the mark of the beast. Sorry, because you do have the mark of the beast. So the first commandment, the great commandment, love Yah, the eternally self-existing, your mighty one, with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul, and with all your strength. Deuteronomy 6, verse 4, and Matthew 22, verse 37, that I referred to earlier. The great commandment. If you do not believe in Yah, or if you believe but do not have a relationship with Yah, i.e. love him, chesed him, then you have the mark and you're a servant of Satan. You've got nothing to worry about regarding and buying and selling. Huge portion of the world's population. Commandment number 1. Yah, the eternally self-existing, is one mighty one. You shall have no other mighty ones beside him. This is broken through the worship of the Bible, Jesus, Moshe, Moses, Muhammad, etc. If you worship Jesus and believe that Jesus is God, or believe in the Trinity, or idolize Moshe, Moses, or idolize Muhammad, then you have the mark and you're a servant of Satan. You have nothing to worry about regarding buying and selling. Somebody asked me a few weeks ago, tell me, there are these people, these religious people who are prospering. They've got these fancy, huge churches. They've got private jets. They drive nice cars. They live in nice houses. Why are we battling? Well, the answer to why you're battling is at least partly because they're worshiping Jesus. They're observing Sunday as the Sabbath. They're not really serving Yah at all. And so the forces of darkness bless them to make them think that Yah is blessing them. You say, how does you make this statement about worshiping Muhammad? Folks, if somebody says something ugly about Muhammad and you beat them up or kill them, then you have made Muhammad a mighty one equal with Yah. You're sinning, my friend. Muhammad was just a man. Like Yeshua, Jesus, was just a man. Like Moshe, Moses, is just a man. Filled at some level in each case with the Spirit of Yah, and at some level led by the Spirit of Yah. Then commandment number 2, which is an extension of the previous point in a sense, no idols. It's broken with the Bible is the holy word of God and without error. Likewise the Quran, likewise Bible school, Bible study, the Torah, the cross, the car, the house, the wife, the husband, etc. Anything or anyone that comes between you and service to the Creator. So, but Bible study is what you do to get close to God. No, on your knees with Yah, worshiping Yah, reading about Yah, that is service to Yah. Going to a school and being taught in your head about some other person's interpretation of the Bible is not worshiping Yah. It's making an idol of the Bible. And Yah says that the Bible is the biggest idol on the planet today. And guess what? Yah says he hates the Bible. So if you, and the same with the Quran, if somebody defaces a Quran or burns a Quran or tears up a Quran and you beat them up or shoot them or kill them, you're making an idol of the Quran. The Quran is just a book. The Quran condemns the Christians and the Jews for worshipping their book, and now the Muslims are worshipping their book. They're just as guilty. In fact, they're more guilty because they are condemned by the very message that they're preaching. So again, if you're doing any of those things, you've got the mark, you're a servant of Satan, you've got nothing to worry about regarding buying and selling. And I say again, my message is to people who are really committed to Father. Commandment number 3, do not take the name of Yah, the eternally self-existing, your mighty one, in vain. It's broken because almost no one knows his name. Many say Yah or Yah for yes, have yahoo.com email addresses, use the false names such as the Lord instead of Yah, the eternally self-existing, God instead of the Almighty, Jesus instead of Yahushua instead, etc. If you're doing any of these things, then you have the mark, you're a servant of Satan, you've got nothing to worry about, except that when you get to the end of your life, you're going to get a really nasty shock. Commandment 4, keep the Sabbath, relates to the 7th day of the week, which is Saturday, from sunrise Saturday to sunrise Sunday, and the high Sabbaths of the Almighty being Pesach, or Passover, Shavuot, or Pentecost, Yom Teruah, the Day of Trumpets, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, Sukkot, the first and the great day, the Feast of Tabernacles. The Christian world largely observes the Sabbath as Sunday, the Day of the Sun, an abomination in the sight of the Almighty, and totally ignores the high Sabbaths, preferring instead to observe the Sabbaths of Satan, Christmas, New Year, Halloween, Easter, etc. See Satanic Feasts for more information. If you're doing any of those things, you have the mark. You don't have to worry until you get to the end of your life and you come before the judgment seat. And if you're some sort of a believer, you're going to end up in hell for a while. Then chesed, love your neighbor as yourself. Matthew 22:13-9. If you're doing anything that detriments your fellow believer or your neighbor, whoever you come into contact with, then you have the mark and you're a servant to Satan, you've got nothing to worry about. Commandment number 5, honor your parents. Few people today, certainly in Western society, show their parents the honor and respect due to them. In particular, most parents are abandoned and left to live alone in their old age, with occasional visits by their children when they should be nurtured in the body of their families, together with their grandchildren. This includes not arguing with your parents, not cursing them, etc. Again, if you found your parents out to an old age home and you go and visit them for an hour on Sunday, sorry, you're guilty, you've got the mark. Commandment number 6, no murder. The so-called Christian world largely accepts abortion, which is outright murder and sacrifice to Moloch, as well as contraceptive methods that cause the fertilized egg not to implant, which is also a form of abortion and murder. In addition, the death penalty for murder has largely been abolished, despite it being a clear instruction of the Almighty that murderers should be put to death. If you're doing any of these things, then you have the mark and you're a servant of Satan. And again, you've got nothing to worry about until you get to the end of your life and you stand before the judgment seat. And Father says, depart from me, you worker of iniquity, I never knew you. Or, you know what, go and spend the next 10 years being tortured and tormented in hell for all your unconfessed sins. And commandment number 7, no adultery. Lies about church marriage, loss of understanding of the Virgin's covenant, etc. Serial monogamy resulting in polyandry and polygamy means that almost all people today are breaking this commandment. The church says there's such a thing as sex before marriage. Not so. The act of sexual intercourse with a virgin, a widow, or a truly divorced woman is the act of marriage in the sight of Yah. The church can bless that union, but apart from that, what the church does is just mumbo jumbo. You might need to do it just from a legal point of view so that the woman can take the man's name and be registered as his wife for legal purposes and tax benefits and things like that. If you're a man and you've taken the virginity of several women and they're not living with you, you've got a big problem on this one. If you're a woman and you've had sex with several men, you've got a big problem here. There are prayers that can be prayed, things that can be done. They're dealt with on the website. But if you're doing them, you may have had sex with women, you may have had sex with 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 other men before you got married. The marriage is meaningless in the sight of heaven. You're in adultery. At the end of your life, you're going to go and be tormented in hell. But for the rest of the time, you don't need to worry about the mark of the beast because you've got it and you're fine. Which is a little bit of a paradox and not really what I should have said. But anyway. Commandment number 8, no stealing. Much of the conduct of the world involves some level of deceit and misrepresentation in commerce. This is stealing. In particular, the church lies wholesale about the Almighty, the Bible, the future of people, and takes tithes and offerings that yoke the people who give into the error and dishonesty of those they give it to. Frequently, churches elicit donations with messages about tithes and giving to the house of God that are totally off the mark and that their gross sin and error disqualifies them from. This too is stealing. More direct stealing and theft, straightforward. You may be working hard not to do that, but if you are every now and then sort of just taking something you shouldn't take, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's somebody else's and you take it, it's stealing. You've got the mark of the beast. You've got nothing to worry about regarding buying and selling. Commandment number 9, no false witness or lying. The church lies constantly about the Almighty and his ways. They dress the ways of Satan and his masterminds up to look attractive and sell them as the ways of the Almighty in unknowing ignorance because they fail to seek truth. All forms of lying and deception, much of marketing and sales, etc. If you're doing any of these things, again, you have the mark, you're a servant to Satan, you've got nothing to worry about. So saying that Jesus is God, it's a lie. So not only are you breaking the first commandment, you're breaking the 9th commandment as well. And if you're teaching that to people as a pastor, whatever, and then handing around a begging bowl, you're stealing as well. Commandment number 10, no lusting or coveting. Most advertising works on the basis of stimulating covetousness. Pornography, clearly, lusting. Much advertising stimulates lust, etc. If you're doing any of these things and you have the mark, you're a servant of Satan, you've got nothing to worry about regarding and buying and selling. So in conclusion, in general, virtually no one has to worry about the mark of the beast. They have it and they're comfortable with it and they're able to buy and sell to their heart's content. It's only people who are truly close to Father Yah and making a real effort to live above sin and close to Father who need to worry. And if they're finding it too easy to buy and sell, then they need to worry that they are sinning materially and not as close to Father as they think they are. An extension of the above is that to truly serve Yah and not have the mark of the beast, one must live a life free of sin. So the corollary to what I've just said is if you are not breaking any of the commandments that I've just read out, you are living free of sin. And guess what? The forces of darkness hate you and fear you. And I've spoken about this in some detail in the last few weeks. I've written about living without sin. The challenge then is if you don't have the mark, the forces of darkness are not going to allow you to sell. And if you can't sell, you can't buy. So you then have to come into a place of really strong emunah, faith, and a really strong relationship with Yah. And you need to deal with some things I'm going to talk about in a minute so that you can be blessed financially. And you'll have to work hard to earn those finances. It's not going to drop out of the sky like so many people teach. Going on to Article 2024-1201, the power of symphonio versus the destructive power of a divided house. A critical principle that is little understood amongst believers is the power of symphonio, agreement, harmony, alignment, versus the destructive power of a divided house. A man I know well recently lost a massive contract in 24 hours as a consequence of a dramatic division of his house that had been building for about 6 weeks. So it seems important to share this as I see a lot of evidence of divided houses in people who communicate with me and are battling financially. Having said that, there's another dimension to this, and that is if you're an African person or a person of African descent, there's something called the curse of Canaan, which is rampant in Africa and people out of Africa who were born of African descent. And that curse of Canaan is holding African people in poverty. There's a teaching on the website about the curse of Canaan and the prayers you need to pray to tear down the cloud of demons over African people. So if you're an African person, you need to be aware that there's over 20 billion demons, ancestor spirits, who are enforcing the curse of Canaan, who are enforcing poverty on people of African descent. And in that article, I give you the prayers to progressively tear down this cloud. If you look at the virtual background on my screen here, you look at those big black dark clouds. That's a representation of the demonic cloud over the earth, and particularly over Africa. So as an African, you need to tear that down and tear that down and tear that down and tear that down till you eventually get a clear heaven, and then you will be blessed financially. There are a few key verses coming back to Symphonia and Divided House. There are a few key verses that apply. First of all, agreement, Symphonia from Google. With my adaptation, Symphonia is a Greek verb that means to agree together, to make a bargain, or to come to an agreement, and also can also mean to sound together or to be in accord. The word is rooted in sun, together with, and phone, voice, and so came to mean two people speaking in agreement. The modern word symphony comes from sinfonio, which means, many instruments playing in harmony with one another. Symphonia appears in the Bible in Matthew 18:19, where Yahushua, incorrectly Jesus, states, "Again I say unto you, that if two of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven." So two people, husband and wife, or more than two, husband and several wives, in Symphonia, singing from the same songbook, the same song in the same key, or in a I'm not a musical person, so I battle to articulate this, but I think you get my meaning. Purely singing perfectly together. They will, whatever they ask, will be given to them. This is critical. A house that is in Symphonia, be it a marital house, an assembly, church, a business, or any other collective of people, a country, a nation, is a powerful spiritual force. The key concept here is many instruments playing in harmony with one another. So many voices singing the same song in the same key in perfect harmony. That's Symphonia. The more people involved, the more challenging this is to achieve, but it applies to a marital house of two upwards and is extremely powerful. The converse of that is a divided house. Matthew 12:25 and Mark 3:25. Knowing their thoughts, Yahushua said to them, "Any kingdom that is divided against itself is being laid waste, and no city or house divided against itself will continue to stand." Modern society encourages debate and disagreement, but a unit of two or more believers cannot afford this. The forces of darkness will take you apart, as in the example in the introduction. Folks, you need to realize that if you are really seeking Father and you don't have the mark of the beast, you need to walk in Symphonia. And I'm talking here, as I said, at the level of a marital house, at the level of an assembly, and so forth. You cannot afford division. And in a marital situation, you can't just walk away from it, because the one flesh bond will hold you together and you will be judged accordingly. And as I've said, you have to work hard in the financial provision. So remember, Bereshith, Genesis 3:19, by the sweat of your face you will eat bread until you return to the ground. It's important to understand that where a family or ministry is in lack, they must be working hard to generate income in order to survive and prosper. Finances and provision do not happen magically. See the article, Biggest Error Crippling Mature Believers. This applies, as I've said just now, particularly to units that do not have the mark of the beast. So if you are in a sexual covenant relationship with woman or man, a man with one or more women. Symphonia is non-negotiable, folks, if you're really serving your Father. So all of this said, a family unit of true believers in full symphonia will be dramatically prosperous. Look at David and Solomon as examples, although Solomon went completely off the rails. So there's more on the website. I'm out of time, and I'm just going to wrap up here. I've said before that Yah wants a deep personal relationship with you. If you come into a place of a deep personal relationship with Yah and you clean up and that requires that you clean up your life so that you don't have the mark of the beast. That requires that your family unit walks in perfect symphonia so that you can prosper. And that requires that you work hard at whatever it is that you have built the aptitude and the skills to work hard at. If you're not in symphonia, everything will turn to dust. Everything you put your hand to will be negatively impacted. And the corollary to that is when you get into symphonia, you will really prosper. So it's a journey, folks. Understand that if you're battling and you're really, truly trying to serve Yah, you've got a way to go. Hang in there, have emunah faith, get on your knees, worship, ask Father to help you, ask Him to show you what you need to do to come to a place of prosperity, because it is His desire for you to prosper. I can't stress that enough. Yah wants you to prosper. So to wrap up, I want to ask you, what is the state of your relationship with the Almighty Creator? I'd like to ask you to critically examine where you are relative to Him. Do you talk to Him constantly throughout the day and allow Him to lead you in every possible way? Do you worship Him at every opportunity? Have you clearly and unambiguously heard Him call you friend? If not, you're failing in your life purpose and you'll be bitterly disappointed when you die. If you've now come to belief, please pray along the following lines. Father Yah, I come to you in the name of Yahushua, and I believe that you exist. I confess my sin of unbelief and repent of my unbelief, and I ask you to forgive my sin. And I commit my life to you, and I ask you to take me by the hand and lead me into deep relationship with you. I ask you to fill me with your spirit and to change me and help me to become the person you want me to become. I ask you to help me find people who can help me and help me find books, websites, articles, and other resources that will help me. I ask you to show me what I can do to actively serve you and lead others to deep personal relationship with you. I thank you for saving me. There's a period of 8 days from sincerely coming to belief for the first time, during which there is extreme grace to help you. See the article, Critical Factors on First Belief. For actions you should take immediately. Drop me an email on james@endtimeissueministries.org so that I can help you, pray with you, counsel you, etc. In closing, thank you for listening. Please send me your questions to james@endtimeissueministries.org. Please email me to join the mailing list at james@endtimeissueministries.org. If you decide to draw close to the Almighty, please let me know, and I will connect with you by Skype, Zoom, Teams, email, WhatsApp, or telephone so that I can help you with your journey. I hope to connect with you again next week when I will continue to explore how to become a friend of the Creator. Work with me to make a way for Yeshua to return in victory at the end of the millennium and make his enemies his footstool. Folks, I can't stress enough. We're in a new spiritual dispensation. Yah, the eternally self-existing, the Almighty Creator of the heavens and the earth, wants you to become his friend. It doesn't matter if you're African, Asian, Indian, American, European, whatever. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, tall or short, educated or uneducated, thin or fat. It doesn't matter if you've got black hair and brown eyes or blonde hair and blue eyes, or Doesn't matter if you're a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, a Hindu, a Buddhist, yogi, whatever. Satanist, Satan's servant, witch, warlock. Yah wants you to become his friend. He will meet you wherever you are. As I said before, email me on james@endtimeissueministries.org, and we can get on Zoom or whatever, and I will counsel you, I will pray for you, I will help you on your journey. Get on my mailing list. There are articles every week that will help you to grow. Go to the website, endtimeissueministries.org, as per the URL in the email addresses. There's a wealth of information there that will help you with your journey. Start at the top of section 1 and just follow the links through the email trail. Folks, I'm out of time. If you've been with me for a while, you're probably going to drop off now, and I'm going to say good night. For those of you who are here for the first or second time, please stay on. I've got something I want to share with you. So for those who are dropping off, I say good night, have a good weekend, and I'll see you next Friday. In closing, who am I? James Robertson. I have a doctorate in engineering, and I'm a retired military commander. I now work as a management consultant. I have over 31 years' experience of actively seeking to draw close to the Almighty following a dramatic encounter with him on the 12th of March, 1993, when he spoke to me audibly in a locked room, and I knew for certain that he was real. In learning about Father, I applied my deep-seated aversion to failure brought out of an accident in early childhood, coupled to my engineering and military training of rigor in preventing failure, to my seeking of knowledge about Father. This journey led to numerous supernatural experiences, prayers answered, and clear communication with the Creator. It forms the basis for what I teach in these programs. See the video, Why Seek Relationship, for an overview of what I believe. Please visit my website at www.endtimeissueministries.org. The ETI version of the Bible with correction of translation errors is on the ETI Bible version page. For recordings of nearly all of the teachings broadcast so far, search on Google for Relationship with Creator Radio, and you'll find about 4 podcast websites with back issues. Also go to www.relationshipwithcreatorradio.com for all the back issues. Transcripts are on the transcripts for broadcast page for nearly all the broadcasts. Books with teachings from 1998 until May 2019 are at the Books for Printing page. I publish regular email articles. Email me on james@endtimeissueministries.org to be added to the list or to seek counsel or prayer or give me feedback. Visit the website and use the Google search, article keyword cloud, table of contents, and article search to locate the information you're looking for. Folks, there's a wealth of information, as I've said a moment ago. That's it. I'm out of time. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a good weekend. Good night.
Father, I come to you, lifting up my hands. By your grace I stand, just because you love me. I know your favor.
Hi, I'm James Robertson. Do you know that divine prosperity is available to true believers? If you're not sure, then please listen to my broadcast on w4cy.com internet radio or talk4tv.com internet TV. Also visit my website at www.endtimeissueministries.org and look at www.relationshipwithcreatorradio.com for back issues of the broadcast, or email me on james@endtimeissueministries.org to find out more. I look forward to hearing from you. Have a great day.